Hi, I'm Lyman, and I'm here with my good friend Marcel on video.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're filming this one. Hopefully it all works out. I actually kind of hope it doesn't work out because then we're just going to be here, talking about the video, but there's going to be no video.
And we're presenting to you, the listener, the Jazz and Grass and Other Stuff Too podcast.
Hey, yeah, that's right. So if you're catching the podcast for the very first time, you may or may not know that what we normally do is Jazz and Grass on Instagram, and that is a new lick. Nice. Now you can see it on video. That's a new lick Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and now Saturday, yes?
Saturday. We are moving to Saturdays because we're still afraid of odd numbers, but we're leaving Sunday for the Lord.
That's not true at all, man. We're leaving Sunday for the podcast.
What did you
Lord's
think
Day
I meant?
is the podcast. Yeah, that's right. So if you wanna catch more of us, just go check out the Instagram account because it's great. I promise. My licks are much better than Lyman's licks, but we've talked about that in a podcast before.
It's true. And if you want to get in touch with us somehow, you can DM us on Instagram. That works. There's an email button. And we also have a phone number, a hotline you can call in or text in. And that number is 724-257-1046. That's 724-257-1046. I almost forgot it.
Have you ever said the phone number wrong?
One time. I think it was with Miles on one of the podcasts he was on.
I hope like 12 people called in. Anyway, so Lyman had a good idea for what we're going to do today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this thing I'm drinking out of. It's red, bubbly, hipster water.
I like this because we're both drinking out of very strange things. This is the first time it's being filmed, and what's going on? Look at this. I'm drinking out of one of the eyeballed Starbucks like plastic cups you can buy. It's my girlfriend's, so I swear it's my girlfriend's.
Yeah, and now I'm admitting to the world I vape.
Oh, and it's the truth. It's out there. Oh man, this is really quickly going downhill. This is going to be a really trashy podcast now.
Okay, let's talk about the thing we're actually going to talk about.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about NASCAR. And
are you actually into NASCAR at all?
Not really. Are you actually into NASCAR?
My wife is. She's really into NASCAR.
That's so cool. So me, Shearston, and a couple of our friends, we were talking about doing the camping thing because you can camp in the middle. And then the cars like drive around you and you just hang out and you like drink and it's like a campsite and you just hang out in the middle of the racetrack.
That doesn't sound real. Is that real?
That's real. Isn't that crazy?
That sounds extremely dangerous.
Yeah, that's why it would be so much fun. But yeah, I feel like I need to up my my NASCAR knowledge before I participate in something like that.
Well, talk to my wife because she knows all the things.
Yeah, we'll do. Anyway, what we were going to talk about today was we were going to talk about toys.
Toys.
Lyman had this idea that we would talk about like guitar related like knickknacks and stuff, and we would call it Toy Chest. And so today we thought we'd do like a whole episode about cracking open that toy chest and kind of what we use. I guess it's a little bit of a rig rundown too, just because we want to talk about some of the stuff that we include a lot before we get into the weird stuff. I imagine when we do Toy Chest again, we'll be talking about weird stuff.
Or stuff that we're sick and tired of using that we're shelving for the time being, like putting it back in the toy chest. Maybe burying it over, putting some picks on top.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, man, you go first because I know we get a lot of questions on Instagram. Well, I know that we've gotten at least a couple about what's on your guitar neck.
Yes. This, I have one of these things. It's not actually a sock, but you're not too far off. It's it's a headband that my original two, I had a black one and a gray one. I had stolen them from my wife, and they were her only two headbands. And then
You're telling me you have a boho bando right there, just wrapped around your guitar, and you're admitting it to the world.
Yeah.
Nice, wonderful.
But I actually went to the store and bought 5 of them. I bought 5 headbands to put on all my guitars and like color code them a little bit. I like this one because it's pink. But yeah, it's just a headband. I put it around the guitar and then I twist it, put it around again, and tie a little knot right here on the end. And that's what it is. Now for why. Why would I do such a foolish thing?
It makes you play faster, right?
Yeah, it's the most important tool to my sound. Well, it doesn't make me play faster, but it allows me to be more sloppy and get away with it a little bit. So I can, here's with the headband wrapped around like the 4th fret. I can I don't have to worry about muting the strings or whatever. I don't have to worry about accidentally, plucking an open string. That's what this lick would sound like without the headband, and here is the headband. So one of those things I think sounds a little bit better. So what it's here for is to sort of allow me to be a little bit sloppier, and I think there's a brand name version of these that you can buy with like Velcro. I think they're called fret wraps.
Yeah, fret wraps.
And the reason I'm cheap to a fault isn't really because I don't want to drop the money. I'm just really impatient. I want to do the thing now. I don't want to buy the fret wrap and wait 4 days for it to come in the mail. I want to look around my house and see if there's anything I can use to get that thing on my guitar faster, because I'm impatient and lazy and a little bit cheap. But yeah, this is my fret wrap.
So the first time that I saw one of those was on a bass guitar. For the sometimes strings ring sympathetically and stuff like that, and I assumed that that's what it was for, but I realized that maybe that's not entirely the case. I mean, if you're playing, I don't know if you even use them on bass, but if you're playing bass, you wanted to play some slap stuff and everything, maybe it would be helpful to have something that is killing the strings after you're done with them.
Oh, absolutely. That was where I first started using the wrap, was on a bass, and I always got made fun of it by a certain audio engineer that I played with who did sound at a pizza place.
Are we trying really hard not to name names?
Yes, that's what we're doing. He always made fun of me for it, but
does this pizza place sound engineer also talk a lot? And did he recently make a home studio that's painted purple?
Yes. But yeah, like I would use it a lot for slap stuff, because the first person I saw use one of these things was Victor Wooten. And another thing I discovered is it's super helpful for like tapping. You're not getting any of those things that happen like any of those like overtones or whatever. What would you call that sound?
I don't
The
know,
other
like the
side of the
sound
string.
like behind the string.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you call that. Yeah, I wonder if you could make a piece of music from like that, like inverted string sound.
Yeah. Like kind of like how the piano. I heard a story about how a piano player flipped the piano backwards and would like play pieces that he knew, and it would create new beautiful music. And this professor showed his students, and so when one of the students went to composition class, he thought he was going to be a little bit clever and play one of his professor's pieces from the back and see what happened. And he got Mozart.
Nice.
So he got beaten to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that sound really bothers me when I'm tapping. So the fret wrap helps a little bit with just the whole tapping thing as well.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of a meme toy. Like most of the time, it's just on my guitar as a talking point. But there are a couple times, especially when I'm playing bass, that I'll hold it like here with my thumb, and I can bring it up with me, push it back down, or
Yeah.
something like a technical passage that I don't quite have down super clean.
Yeah, that's neat. And if you get like real sweaty or you have to put on your makeup, you can take it off. You can pull your hair back. I mean, I'm just saying multi-purpose.
The little hair I have.
Hey, I'm just realizing that, the people who haven't like actually seen us, talk and hang out, they're realizing that the hat thing and the logo is like real. Like here I am wearing a backwards hat and you're wearing your hat forwards. And it's very much like the logo.
Yeah, I love this hat. This hat is a part of me.
Yeah, that's the Seahawks hat. Isn't there a picture of you wearing that on your website?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's this exact hat.
Yeah, I think
if not, it's one real close to it.
I think that was the reference image I used when I made the logo. Yeah, it was that. Weird.
It's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I was trying to think of what I would bring up, and I realized that there's a lot of unique stuff that I do with my acoustic guitar that's kind of unique to bluegrass, and I thought it'd be worth talking about. If you already play some bluegrass and you've bought some things for your instrument, you probably already know what's up. But let's get into it. The first thing that I think is really important is guitar picks, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like all the normal guitar picks that you get, and like your normal like. What are the ones with the turtle on them called? Are they Tortex or?
I think so. This one has a turtle on it.
Yeah, they're like in blue, yellow, and like green and red, I think. Yeah, I used to play the yellow ones of those when I was first starting out. They're super bendy, and at some point I realized that I needed to move up to like a thicker pick if I was going to play some of the faster stuff. And since then it's been a really tough search. And then bluegrass has kind of all of its own rules. Bluegrass kind of works a lot more like metal in terms of what kind of pick people like. So a lot of times they pick these much, much thicker picks. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that a lot of it has to do with just how rigid the pick actually is. So whether or not it's thick is separate from its actual rigid quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want it to bend, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like 5 millimeters thick, which I think is the problem with most picks that don't bend. So there's this company called Blue Chip. For anyone that doesn't know, I wonder if I can focus my camera on that. Be a good beauty guru and get my camera to focus. No. Oh, there it is. Hey, look, that's a Blue Chip. Yeah, these picks. They sell. First of all, they're fairly expensive. So know if you're just gonna research into them that they do cost a lot. So I think this one costs around $45, if not $50. So you don't want to lose them, and it's a crazy thing. They do have a couple of really cool qualities, though. One is that depending on which one you buy, of course, they do have the quality of being particularly thin without giving up any of that rigid quality. So they are very rigid. They are very responsive, and they're very loud. And they're basically skinny picks that play like, much thicker picks. And the one that I play is the TAD 50, which is the one that like Chris Thiele plays or something. Some famous player plays this one. And I just happened to get it by happenstance. But the company is endorsed by a bunch of great players like Julian Lage, like I said, Chris Thiele, and oh man, who else? Probably Sierra Hole or something. Lots of great players. If I said anyone who doesn't actually endorse them, I'm sorry, but I do my best. Yeah, and then, one of the last things about these picks that's so awesome is that you can get something engraved on the back. And of course, on the back of mine, it says Billy Goat because I'm obsessed with myself. Yeah, they're wonderful picks. And the...
What's the thickness on yours?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. I would guess just by like feeling it and holding it right now, maybe like a millimeter, maybe like 1.2. It's really not that thick compared to like, how thick they get. But the other, maybe the last big selling point is that they don't wear, which sounds insane to say, but I've had this one for maybe 2 years now, and it looks brand new. You can play it on all three sides. I have no idea which side I favored because all of the sides look identical. People do say that they wear, people have had them and have had them wear out, but I mean, I've never met someone personally that's worn one out. People always lose them before they actually show any sign of wear, which is shocking to me. You're basically buying a pick that could last the rest of your life, and no matter how hard you play it, and all you have to do is not lose it. So it's a bad business model for them, but if you care about your pick, I mean, it's a good model for you. And I only own the one. So whenever I'm playing my guitar, acoustic, electric, or whatever, I'm playing this one pick. It's the only pick that I really own and gig with. I have emergency picks that are just randos that are, shoved in cases and stuff like that. But if you ever see me play my guitar, it's this one pick.
Wow. So, questions. Do you think they have a 0.8 millimeter model that has the same rigidity?
Probably. Let's check out their website real quick. I actually had their website open, but I closed it because with the audio recording and video calling and filming over here, we are using 100% of our CPUs.
My computer is starting to get kind of warm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can, find it real quick or anything. But yeah, I mean, they have a bunch of different sizes that you should check out and see. I'm looking right now at their jazz picks, which are 2.5 and 2 millimeters, which seem kind of thick.
Yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of thick picks. Like, I like rigid picks, but if I could get a rigid pick in like 0.8 or even like 0.6, like I would love that pick.
Okay, when I was holding my pick, I said this is either 1 millimeter or 1.2 millimeters. It's 1.25 millimeters. So I just want everyone to know I'm actually a magician.
The pick I'm holding is I'm pretty sure it's a Tortex. It's 1 millimeter because that's what it says on the pick. And when my picks start to wear, like, I'll file them.
Yeah, and get them like 0.2 again.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I got a file. I originally got the file to work on my nut, but as soon as
the string slots themselves.
Yeah, as soon as like I got them slotted out enough, like I don't need the file anymore. So I had to find other things to use for them. So I decided to try to file some pics, see what I could do, and I've experienced okay results so far.
That's cool. Just for the people out there, poking around on their website real quick. And I'm not sure I have good information. I just, I'm the guy who was just Googling for a minute. But I didn't find one under a millimeter. They might have some that are under a millimeter, but just looking, the biggest one I saw was maybe 2.5 millimeters, and the smallest one I saw was a millimeter. But yeah, check them out. Blue Chip Pics, hashtag not spawn. So anyway,
hashtag hopefully spawn one day.
Hopefully spawn one day. About your about the nut on your guitar though, and filing out those string slots. What was happening? Were they too shallow, or too deep, or well, I guess you wouldn't need to file them if they were too deep.
This guitar had just the green pack of Slinkies, the regular Slinkies, and I wanted to put flat wounds on this guitar, and I didn't want super thin flat wounds, so I got the light gauge, like 12 to 56, and they were just hanging out. They weren't fitting into the slots, so I had to make them a little bit bigger, and I have no regard for anybody else's safety or my own, so I just did it myself.
That's good. I bet you did it right there in the kitchen too, knowing you.
No, I did it on my bed.
That's even more like you.
Same place I do all of my soldering. Which turns out my wife didn't know that I soldered on the bed. Like, she just thought I soldered and told her about it when she got home. She didn't know that was the place that I was soldering, the place I was sitting.
How did she take the news?
She said something along the lines of, "Oh, come on. You cannot solder in bed."
Yeah.
And I said, "Watch me." And I took my plate off this guitar and discovered it didn't need any soldering, so I didn't actually solder.
That's good.
In the bed in front of her.
You did plug it in, though, and then unplug it, I'm sure.
No, I didn't even plug it in. I made sure to check first. Something I'm not, too great with, but I made sure to check first.
That's great. Yeah, well, dude, what else you got for the toy chest?
I would grab my soldering iron, but it's not in reach anymore.
Oh, man.
I don't know where I put it.
Go grab it. We're on film now. I can entertain these guys.
But because of my lack of patience, I could have gone on Amazon to get this thing for $4 to $6, but I decided I wanted it right now. So I drove to the nearest music store, which was 20 miles away, and bought this thing, a tremolo arm.
Yeah.
And it's something I've never had on a guitar that I've owned.
And it's already stripped.
Not quite yet, but soon.
I just need to overturn it 5 more times.
But yeah, this is something I was kind of inspired to do by guest host Miles Harris. And he's a wizard of guitar setup. He had his bridge floating. Mine's not. Mine's just flush against the top of the guitar. So I don't have much up pull, but I can dive bomb.
Yeah, right.
And I've literally only had this for a day, and I've never played with one for any extended period of time. But I'm trying to work around this thing, figure out how I can use it. Of course, it's
with the bridge against the body. Are you experiencing like less tuning issues as you use it?
yeah,
That's interesting.
stays in tune. If it does get knocked out, all I have to do is like pull it back, push it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Of course, it's good for like chords and sounding like a Hawaiian guitar player.
Your culture.
Which technically I'm a Hawaiian guitar player, but
but you do,
musically
you don't play Hawaiian guitar, but you are a Hawaiian guitar player.
I feel like I'm taking an IQ test now.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Some guitar players who play Hawaiian guitar are Hawaiian guitar players, but all Hawaiian guitar players are, and then you fill in the blank.
That's good.
But what I've been super into is I want to do the Scott Henderson thing. He uses his tremolo like it's almost like a way to articulate notes. Like he'll come into the note like that, and I just thought that was super cool. And like, this is the first time admitting this on the podcast. I do not wish I was a guitar player. I wish I was a saxophone player.
Oh man, yeah. I don't want to go there either. But I did at one time purchase a saxophone from a music store, thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this bad boy. And one G major scale later, I don't think I ever picked it up again.
The thing is so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I like being able to eat when I play as well.
Yeah, how am I supposed to like have a chalupa in my breast pocket and I can just reach down and take a bite and continue playing?
You cannot drink chocolate milk and play the saxophone at the same time. You have to give up one of those things.
I don't want to take this to too dark of a place, but maybe that's why all of the saxophone players were fans of harder things. They weren't drinking or smoking. They were injecting, let's say.
That's how the coroner, ages you up 20 years when he looks at your insides. Looking at you, Charlie Parker.
Charlie Parker was the king of them.
But to me, like the tremolo is like just myself getting one step closer to the saxophone. Let me give an example. Sort of an example, but
yeah, that's tough. But yeah, I mean, the idea is cool.
Yeah, like I can't execute on that idea very well yet, but this new toy is allowing me to get even closer to being a pretend saxophone player.
You just need to keep following your heart, and one day all your dreams will come true.
I don't follow my heart, but my shadow follows me.
That sounds like a quote from a jazz saxophone player who was,
Thank you for saving that joke. Have you ever experienced a tremolo that much? I don't know why they call it a tremolo.
Yeah, I think that I wonder I'm just making stuff up. But, in a lot of the old electric guitar recordings, I'm thinking of like early country recordings and early Western soundtracks and stuff like that. A lot of these amps had like tremolo settings, and you could just, and it was like turning on reverb. You could turn that on, you could change the rate and, the actual depth of it. And I had an amp that had that. That was like the Fender Delta something. Sure, some of you know what I'm talking about. Delta Blues, I think is what it was. And I really loved that amp, and it had some tremolo settings on it. But I wonder if the tremolo bar, like people were using it for that, just like controlled tremolo without it being on an amp, or maybe the opposite happened. People had it on a tremolo bar and they would do that sound effect like that. And then people are like, what if I didn't have to do it by hand? What if it was just setting on an amp? Like, I wonder if that's where the name came from.
It's less tremolo and more like vibrato.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I don't get the name, but I'm gonna call it a tremolo bar because that's what I searched for on Amazon, and I found the thing. Then I got impatient.
You need to, you know what? Speaking of your impatient, habits, you need to move to a big city so you can get it, the Amazon delivered to your door, or you like, order what you want, and then the same day they just like show up with it. That's what you need, man.
I want the version where like they just have a key to my car and they just put it in my car.
Don't they?
Did you hear about that?
Have
I'm pretty sure that's
I thought
that's.
I thought it was like a key to your house, or you have like a lockbox or something, and then they can like open up your door and drop it off like inside the door and then close it or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were doing it with cars as well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, yeah, that's insane. Like, I would just park my car in Phoenix and order lithium-ion batteries and just have them put them in there. Keep putting them in there. Just see what happens.
And like a dozen eggs. Special instructions like crack these on my dashboard. When I was a kid, I'm totally interrupting you. When I was a kid living in Phoenix, I actually remember seeing a segment on the news where one of the anchors did that, like cracked some eggs on their car dashboard, and they cooked them over the course of the segment. And I remember thinking that was cool as a little kid. Anyway, that's it. That's my little lame story.
Speaking of Arizona heat, like it's not as hot as Phoenix, but it does get to like 100 degrees here. And I don't have tinted windows in my car. And I got the bright idea to leave a power strip like right on the seat. I came back the next day, yesterday, when I was getting my tremolo arm, and the power strip had melted.
That's so funny. Yeah, that sucks.
Are there any capacitors on the side of those things?
Well, I mean, is it so melted that you can't like unscrew it now?
I didn't try. Like, I'm probably going to put that thing directly in the trash because I don't trust it anymore. I'm not going to use that to put power through other things.
It would be funny just to crack it open and see like if it really did melt around the electronics or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. But yeah, it was all melty because of not Phoenix heat, but snowflake
heat. Yeah, I remember me and my brother going outside and poking the pavement because when it gets that hot, the pavement like becomes squishy again, and you can like, especially where they patch it, like that gooey stuff, how they patch cracks. Yeah, that's like be molten all of a sudden, and you can shape that however you want.
That happened to me once in Washington, actually.
Really?
Like I was able to poke some of that crack filler stuff, and it wasn't hard anymore. Like I could move it around a little bit.
Yeah, that's super fun. Hey everyone, go play with asphalt.
Go play in traffic.
Yeah, so we should probably try to get back on topic. I wanted to talk about, capos. So in a lot of genres, the capo is kind of a crutch. In bluegrass, it becomes really a necessity with all the open strings and the very specific open chords that get used. And when you try to play bluegrass without capo, you just can't. It sounds dopey. It sounds like not bluegrass. So we have to use capos. And one thing that I hate is when people use these kind of capos for bluegrass. And the problem is that these kind of capos, for all the things that they're great for. I mean, really, what they're made for is just it being quick to take on and off, and then you can move them to your headstock or whatever. And that's great. I don't like them for a number of reasons. Number one, they're crazy bulky. I mean, this is giant. To put this on a guitar neck is a little crazy. The other thing is that a lot of people have trouble with these because if they slip when they're putting them on or off, they've messed up their neck and stuff like that. But I mean, this one is padded as hell, so I couldn't imagine doing that. But hey, if you do have one of these, be careful with that because you don't want to put a scratch in your Martin. But what the big problem is that the spring's on one side. So if all the tension is on one side of the capo, then when you put it on, it's going to drag everything in that direction. It's going to pull things in that direction. That means that these are kind of intonation killers. They make everything go really out of tune. So that's why I don't like these capos or use these capos anymore. And that's why you almost never see bluegrass musicians use this kind of capo unless they're sponsored by the company, which is a little telling.
Can you describe the shape for audio only folks?
Oh, yeah, that's true. So it basically like a clamp capo, that is what I'm talking about. So you see these, a lot of times they're like super bright colors. I won't say the brand of the one that I happen to be holding, but yeah, it's the kind that just has a handle that you squeeze and then it opens up and it'll clamp over the strings. And the spring mechanism, the clamp, is just on one side. So whether you put that underneath or on top, it's really, the tension is only coming from one side. It's basically like putting your hand over the guitar and you're closing down your thumb and your fingers. It's like a little pretend alligator mouth grabbing the neck of the guitar. And
yeah, I always thought those capos looked like alligator mouths.
They just don't do a very good job, and that's really frustrating.
Yeah, that kind of capo is the only kind of capo I own, and I never use a capo, but when I do, I have to be like very careful about how I put it on the guitar to keep my intonation.
Yeah, so they've come up with a lot of different kind of fixes for that over the year. Let's see if I have like a weird example on me. Maybe I don't. But they've tried to come up with other capos that like wrap around and do a similar thing. I'm literally digging through desk trash right now. Let me grab the capo that does work really well though. Anyway, point is, these kind of capos that are called screwback capos, and for those of you that are just listening, they wrap all the way around the neck. So it's like a little D shape that goes all the way around the neck, and then it's got a screw on one side that moves a little pad up against the back of the neck. And these kind of capos, since now the screw is coming directly from the other side of the strings, they provide even tension across all the strings. So your intonation is much, much better. And the cool thing is, you might think, hey, this is probably difficult to get on and off because now I have to undo this part, unclamp it, and then unscrew it and do the whole thing and get it off the guitar. But you don't have to do that. And that's one of the reasons I really like them. So you can screw them on behind the nut of the guitar and just let them loosely sit there. So if you're watching on film, you can see how I've done that. And then I can play an open and it just sits back there. And then when I have to use it, all I have to do is unscrew that and drag it down to whatever fret I want. And then I have a capo kind of permanently on my guitar. I'm never going to lose it because it just sits on there the whole time. And my intonation is much better. Everything's much better.
And it fits in your case.
Yeah, it does.
Like when I put a capo up here, like sometimes it won't fit in the case
Yeah, it's
anymore.
totally true. So yeah, the capo that I use, that specific one, is called the Ultimate Capo. And I think I got it from John Pierce's website. And John Pierce is a wonderful company if you're looking for any kind of like folky kind of equipment, banjo, mandolin, whatever it is. They make great stuff. And I used to get my guitar picks from them too. But yeah, Ultimate Capo, it's made in Oregon. And I think it's made in I think this is true. I thought it was a father and son made them in their garage, I think. But yeah, I love them. They're obviously like handmade and just really well constructed, and they're made out of brass, and they're just really like hardy. They're kind of like old, reliable, like they don't feel like they're mass produced. They don't feel like they're gonna like bend or break or anything like that. They feel invincible. Like I would run over mine with a car and feel pretty safe about it.
Nice. Anytime I got a new baseball glove, first thing I did was run it over with a car.
Yeah, that's the first thing we always did whenever we saw each other. When we were like, "Hey, let's hang out," we would like get out of our cars and we'd be like, "Let's run over some baseball gloves." Not really.
I would like to stress test that. I would like to actually like purchase one of those capos, run it over.
I've wanted to talk to those guys. If memory serves correct, I couldn't find any contact information. If you know who makes the ultimate capo, let me know, because I would love to talk to those guys about maybe doing some kind of like, deal of like, I don't know, for like my subscribers or something, or like do some kind of sponsorship or something, because I really do think their product is really good. I really like the idea of like a really handmade, guitar accessory like that, instead of something that's so mass-produced and flimsy. A little like this.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a third thing to talk about?
Maybe. Why? You got another thing to talk about? Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
It's kind of like a sort of multiple things, but my MIDI equipment.
You nerd.
I've got this thing. I think it's the Keith McMillan. That's Keith McMillan. Yeah. Soft Step. And essentially what it is, it's a MIDI foot
Yeah,
controller.
for those of you that are just listening to the podcast, imagine like a Dance Dance Revolution, like dance pad, only much smaller and more rectangular.
That's exactly what it is. And whenever I need effects live and, don't have the time to, use my hands, I'm going to use that thing. I don't know if they make them anymore. I think they made a version 2. I don't know how much they go for. I don't know anything about this thing, but I know I like it. It cost me like $75 off of Craigslist. Some guy wanted to use it as an expression pedal, but it wouldn't go, into the expression pedal port.
Oh.
I'm sure there would have been a way to like, with a box and like some fancy routing.
Made that work, yeah.
Could have done something. But that's it would have been a pain to do, but that's kind of my MO. Like make what I have work. It's got like 10 different patches, like so I can go for audio only. There's a little like kind of D-pad, like so I can go left and right to switch between patches.
It doesn't have an analog stick.
It's got X and Y control on all of the pedals. There are 10 pedals, so you can have them be a trigger. You can have them be a hold function. So when you hold it down, it'll engage, a certain effect. So I would use the hold function with a slow release time in the DAW to like trigger like sort of a volume pedal. Like press it down, it'll kill my volume. Pull it back up, it'll slowly bring it back. And the X and Y you can use, to control certain parameters like, filter cutoff, level of overdrive and whatnot. And there's either 10 or 11 different patches you can program. So it's, this thing doesn't actually do anything on its own, but it can control everything. So when you plug this thing in, you're pretty much limited by how much processing power you have on your computer.
So the hope is that when you're triggering things, your audience doesn't get triggered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I've been thinking about
yeah.
expanding some kind of pedal board of my own, but I'm cheap and I'm not Lyman. So yeah, I don't have anything.
Yeah, like I wish I had actual pedals, but I'm cheap and impatient, and to like buy multiple pedals would have taken way longer than I was willing to.
Have you seen all those mini pedals that I keep seeing them on Amazon? That are like $25 to $30, and they're like, much smaller. Wow, trying to make a rectangle with my hands. They're like like that big or something, and they're all the normal effects like reverb and delay and compression and whatever else. But there's a couple companies that are making they're making them like kind of as cheap as possible. Because sometimes like a single compression pedal can run you like $200 if you've never looked. I'm sure you can find them much more expensive than that too. But, kind of like if you went on a website and were like, hey, what compression pedal do you recommend? They're going to recommend you things that are like several $100s. And you're like, well, that's cool. I could buy another guitar for that. So I thought that was neat. If anyone has tried any of those, please let us know what they sound like, because I would like to try some of those and see if they're actually worth it. Maybe it'd be fun to get some of those, do a review or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm into that as well. Like I'm looking to expand into actual physical gear a little bit. But I've got a couple other triggering devices. This is a Novation launch pad. It's got a bunch of 64 buttons that are square and 16 buttons that are round.
It looks like graph paper for those of you that are just listening.
It's got a bunch of different settings. Like you can flip to see some controllers, different sorts of configuration to trigger MIDI notes. It's what I was using to trigger my effects before I got my my foot controller. I wasn't doing too much guitar work, so it was all bass work. So I would just push one button, and I'd have my sound for the song.
That's cool.
And my third MIDI controller that I use frequently is an Akai MIDI Mix. It just looks like a mixing board for audio only people. Yeah. It's got 9 faders. How many buttons? 16 buttons here and 4 more, so that's 20 buttons and 24 knobs. And you can program those to do whatever you want them to do. So a lot of times, like I'll have delay time, filter cutoff, resonance, attack release, threshold for a compressor, reverb. Like these are my toys that I use when I'm playing in a live setting. I don't use them much when I'm just hanging out or practicing or recording, because I can just I have a lot more time. I'm not constrained to the song is right now. I got to get my sound right now. I can just lay something down and then automate later. But,
so when you gig, do you bring your laptop and use that to run your FX?
Here, no.
But you used to for like bigger things.
Yeah. I haven't found a project around here and the fact that I'm mostly playing bass doesn't help. But I haven't found a project here that's super necessary for me to have a ton of effects. Right. So
maybe you should just start including that. Like when you go out on a jazz bass gig, you should just put a bunch of distortion and compression and reverb and delay and fuzz on your bass. I mean, how do you think they would take that?
Thumbs up. I was actually doing like I was in a rehearsal band. We played improvisational jazz. So we didn't play tunes. We just started playing. And the song would go where it went. And I brought all my effects for that because I was playing guitar in that group. And yeah, like I like the whole digital aspect because it's less. I feel like it's less equipment for me to move, but a lot more like cable routing and like preparation beforehand. Like I got to make sure all the MIDI controls are going to their the right parameter.
Right.
I haven't been doing too much of that lately, but like I do have these toys and they're in the chest and they're some of my favorite toys.
Well,
any other questions about those things?
No, man, that's really cool. I've always wondered, I don't know, maybe just a little bit more about how all of that stuff works and how you set it up, and I don't know, but that would probably be a conversation for another time. I would, yeah. I would love to like have someone help me set something like that up so I could play with it more. But once again, like when would I ever use that?
Whenever I get a new thing with no reason to use it, like I'll just hit my head against the wall, like trying to find a reason to use it, and like I'm gonna figure out a way to use it. Might not. The music might suffer just a tad, but like I will put it to good use.
Yeah, totally. I'm thinking about one last toy I can talk about, and once again, I'm digging through trash because I'm looking for the thing that I'm thinking of. Because I didn't prepare because I'm not Lyman. I'm going to look at my guitar case real quick. All right, cool. Anyway, these things, I ordered these things from across the pond, and I couldn't get them in the U.S. because they don't have them. But so there's these things on banjo called Scruggs tuners, and the idea is that it's another tuning peg that you can turn. And it has two locking points, so it locks all the way on or all the way off, and it pushes the string on the headstock. So, it pushes the string in between the tuners, and you can set the amount that it pushes the string, bends the string. So when you engage it, it'll tune your string up or down. So you can set it so it immediately tunes your string like up a whole step or down a whole step or a half step or whatever. And when you listen to, if you ever listen to some of those classic banjo tunes and bluegrass, there's a couple that specifically feature that tuning aspect, and you hear this really quick like string being tuned, and it just sounds bizarre, and that's what it is. So these banjo players will be playing, and let's say, just as an example, hypothetically, they would be playing and they would like hit a G string, and they'd reach back and they'd hit their Scruggs tuner, and it would tune it down to F sharp so they could move to their 5 chord, which would be D. So you hear this real quick like string tuning action to the next chord. And it's super cool. And I wanted to get that on guitar somehow. And of course, if you want to put tuners like that on a guitar headstock, you're dealing with some different tension and stuff like that. And you'd probably have to alter the instrument quite a bit. And I didn't want to do that. And I was looking at some different options that people have found for making that happen. And I found these automatic tuners that clip onto just the string itself. And they grab onto the string. And then underneath, they have a little cam that raises and lowers. So in between of where it clips on, it pushes the string upwards and bends it up or puts it at tension. There's a knob that you twist on the top. And so you would clip it onto your E string behind the nut, let's say. You would tune your E string down to D, and then when you engage it, it puts it up to E. So that means it's always engaged and you're always in standard. Whenever you want to go down to drop D, all you have to do is twist this knob real quick and you're immediately in drop D and it's in tune and everything. And that was super useful.
That sounds like something I need to get for a friend of mine.
Who's always trying to get into drop D.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're really cool. And I'm having a hard time remembering how much they cost me. I would guess around like $25 or $30. But I love them. I got 2 of them, and I got one for my low E string, and I got one for my B string. So I was tuning my B string up to C to get into like a modal tuning, which was really convenient. That's a bluegrass word. They would call it modal tuning, but it has nothing to do with modes. Weird thing. And then and I used it on my low E string so I could get into drop D. And it was the coolest thing. It was really neat. And eventually I just got kind of tired of using them. And there was a couple moments where they didn't work on me, because when you change your strings and you put them back on, you have to recalibrate a little bit. You know, so you have to get out like this tiny little Allen key, like put it in there and adjust how much it tunes it. And a couple times I didn't do that because I'm lazy. And then I would go to use it at a show, and it would be slightly out of tune, and I'd have to retune it anyway. So eventually I got to a point where I was like, why am I using these when I can just tune quickly anyway? And I wasn't really using them in the middle of any songs, so yeah, that's what happened. That's why I stopped using them. But they're lovely. Unfortunately, I can't think of the name of the company or anything else, but you should look for them. They're so cool. I really wish I could find them just to hold them out and show them to the camera, but I put them in a box or something.
So those are toys that went back into the chest.
Yeah, that one definitely went back in the chest.
Maybe you'll, find a use for them someday, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I would like to bring them back out and try them again, but it hasn't happened yet.
Can you fit like 6 of them on a guitar?
You probably could. I imagine if you were engaging that many strings, though, you might actually have some tuning issues. You're actually changing so much tension on the instrument.
Yeah, that's something that took me a real long time to learn. Like if I was tuning my guitar starting from, here, and then tuned it down to here, then all of a sudden
it would be out.
This has changed.
Yeah, totally. I normally, like, if I have to tune my guitar by ear, I tune mostly using octaves of different things, which is weird. I know everyone does their harmonic thing, and I have a harder time just hearing that harmonic thing a lot of times if it's like a noisy room and stuff like that. And a lot of times I'll check like my G on my high E string against my open G and my D on my B string against my open D string, right? So if I can get a couple strings next to each other in tune, I'll tune other neighboring strings to figure out how it works. It's like a spider web, like crawling out.
So you tune in octaves. I tune in octaves as well.
Really?
But like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, that's exactly how I think. I just do it with my open strings.
And then I'll tune like with fourths chords, then like a major chord. This guitar has decent intonation, so I'm a user of cheap guitars, so it took me a while to find a guitar that had reasonable intonation. So like a lot of times I used to have to like check, okay, where am I staying most of the time, and tune those octaves there, and just suffer a little bit.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Elsewhere.
Yeah, there's a little amount of that has to happen kind of no matter what on guitar. Normally, where I hear it all the time is my B string. So whether I'm playing in G and C or E and A, I tune my B string differently. It's really weird. So I flatten my B string if I'm playing in G or C, because I notice on most guitars the fretted notes tend to come out a little bit sharper. So, for instance, if you're playing a G chord and you're holding down that D note on the B string, it'll come out a little bit sharp and it'll ruin the feeling of fifths. So I tune that B string down. But then if I play an open E chord, once again, I'm ruining the feeling of fifths because now that B will feel flat against the open E. So I'll have to tune the B string back up in tune. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, why couldn't they just tune the guitar in fourths? And also, alternatively, the harmonic series and equal temperament don't work too well together, and that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Music is all just made up. Which it really is, and that's the weird thing, is that we just decided on some rules that like really worked out for us, and then when they stopped working out, we were like, all right, we'll just fudge the numbers a little bit, and like this will be good.
It'll be fine. It'll work. Adam Neely's got a great video on that, like how keys probably sounded different back in the day, like different keys, but E flat minor isn't gonna feel any different from A minor today.
Yeah, but back in the day, they might say like, "Oh, C sharp minor is particularly moody," or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Because it was particularly, out of tune.
Yeah.
And now everything's just slightly out of tune, but it's what we're used to. Oh hey, to keep with the theme of me getting calls towards the end of podcasts, I'm getting a call from Massachusetts.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Are you gonna take it?
No.
You should take it and just say, "Hey, I'm recording a podcast right now."
I thought we went over this last time. If I don't know your number, I'm not going to answer.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, man, I think that's a podcast. I think we did it. Am I wrong?
I think so.
Did we not do it?
We might not have done it too well, but I think we did it, like, at least the bare minimum.
And we filmed it. Check that out.
How cool.
Anyway, yeah.
So,
if you like listening to the podcast, yeah. My name's Marcel. I'm supposed to be the grass side of things. I talk about the bluegrass in the country. You can find me on YouTube, Lessons with Marcel. That's where most of my content and videos are. If you're from there, hey, how you doing? Thanks for checking this out. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. After that, you can check out my website, lessonswithmarcel.com. There's a bunch of free stuff on there. There's a little bit of stuff you can buy. And you can also sign up for Skype lessons if you're interested in that. And that's everything I got. What about you, Lyman?
I'm Lyman Lipke. You can find me at lymanlipke.com. That takes you to all the places you need to know about me.
What about the places they don't need to know?
My anime list. What else?
Yeah, what if they go on YouTube and they search your name and they find your fan-made video about your top 10 anime betrayals?
You find all sorts of, baseball-related stuff, probably.
Yeah.
Like me commenting on the sad state of the Seattle Mariners.
Man, you're ending this podcast on a sad note. It's like, let's get sad about baseball right at the end of this baby.
Every time. We do a thing together, right? We do a couple things together.
That is very true. Once again, we do Jazz and Grass on Instagram. That's a new lick every single day, except for Sunday, because on Sunday, a new episode of this podcast comes out. What do you want to say about that? You got anything else on that?
If you're an audio-only listener, I encourage you to check us out on YouTube now because we've got video.
That's true, we do.
And I don't know what that means to you, but we'll try to make everybody happy, video watchers and the audio-only people.
Yeah, if you're an audio-only person, consider keeping the mystery alive because once you see what Lyman actually looks like, you can never go back.
Nope. just keep that little half face of mine. Like, stay there.
Yeah.
There's no reason to move into the great unknown.
Yeah, man, I was thinking that I need to redo our little logo, by the way, now that we're not ending the podcast, apparently. Because I don't have your mustache in there, man. I need to get that in there. Anyway. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our mustache talk at the very end.
Mm-hmm. We got a number too. That's 724-257-1046. I'm only saying it once this time because it's the end.
Yeah, so call in if you want to say something. We'll talk about it. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Ape Nation.
Wait, let me get in a quick Papa Bless.
Best ending ever.